Welcome, everyone. We are the Uneducated Gamers Podcast, and today we are going to give you some of our most uneducated thoughts on just about every topic we're going to talk about. And, you know, who knows? We're going to see where it goes. But before we start getting into our topics for today, Mike, how are you doing today, bud?
I'm doing all right. Good, and you?
Pretty good. It's kind of interesting. We kind of started talking about the podcast, and then we did a podcast before the podcast.
The pre-podcast.
But here at Uneducated Gamers, we just talk about games all day long, and we just turn on the mic, and whatever comes out of our mouth, that's what we get. So it is what it is. Speaking of...
It is what it is.
Speaking of games, first time ever, tabletop games. What's the word, Mike?
What's the word? There's a lot going down in Warhammer right now. So, we have, Adepticon Chicago, I believe, is the name of the annual Warhammer con. It's coming, not this weekend, so not like 2 days from now, but next weekend.
So, for the folks on the line here who may or may not understand or know what Warhammer is, maybe give a description really quick.
It's a nerd game.
What are we talking about
Warhammer,
when it comes to tabletop games and what Warhammer is?
Warhammer is an IP from the late 80s from the UK that involves... they basically invented the Space Marine. And it's a model-based game where you build your models, you paint your models, and you have your Space Marines shoot at each other. There's also aliens to shoot at and demons to shoot at. It's just a tactical tabletop shoot 'em up objective game. Lots and lots of dice rolling.
I think one of the ways that I could explain it, and I was like trying to figure out a way to explain it to my wife, who does not understand tabletop gaming whatsoever. And so I was like, oh, okay. So if you can think about, if we think of video game terms, right? And you think of like, say, XCOM, right? Where you have a certain amount of like movement that you can do within these squares. Or if you think of some of these other games that are RPG based, right? It's role-based action, and you get to move spaces, and you have an army that you need to move, and it's strategic in that way. Yep. Essentially speaking, Warhammer is that, right? But it's a little different because it's not just being on a map. If you think about a video game, you have terrain, you have all these other things that you can put on the map that people have to either go around or be on top of or what have you. So
it's like they took the combat portion of D&D and they made it into its own game.
Which is really cool.
And you have to have physical models and physical terrain. And yeah, it's really cool.
And speaking of, and I think what we could do, and I'll take, if you don't mind, I'll grab some of your pictures that you've been posting on Discord on the models that you've been painting, and I can put them in our on our website to kind of just give people examples of what some of these look like.
Oh, sure. I mean, I'm not the world's greatest painter or anything. I've only recently started, so but that'll give you an example.
So what's going on in the world of Warhammer?
There's been a lot of issues with... We're currently on the 9th edition of the core rule set. It's like Dungeons and Dragons, where you have editions of the game. D&D is on 5e. Warhammer is on version 9. And there's been a lot of grumblings with the way it's been balanced, or rather not balanced, especially when each codex comes out for each different factions. So the way that works is there's a bunch of different factions in Warhammer. So there's Space Marines is a faction, which is divided into a bunch of different sub-factions, but that's irrelevant. Space Marines is a faction. They have a codex that has all the rules for Space Marines in it that is in addition to the core rules, so that you can play that specific faction. Necrons is another one. Tyranids is another one. There's various Chaos Space Marine factions that all have their own codices. And 9th edition has had a bunch of issues of codex creep, where every successive codex has been ridiculously more broken than the least, and all the rules have to be balanced after, books hit print and whatever have you. Anyway, it's a mess. But people have been postulating about 10th edition coming out soon because it's about that time. There's usually about a 3-year cycle between rules editions for the core rules, and
which is very similar to D&D, right? Like, so D&D is usually, I think
5e has been out. D&D 5e has been out for quite a while.
But like, there's generally a fairly sizable gap, albeit varying in time frame, but generally speaking, unlike games like Magic the Gathering or things like video games, oftentimes there's a much larger gap.
Yeah. So they've been talking about, all right, 10th edition should be coming out soon, we assume. There's lots of different ways that we could trim down the rule set to make it easier, more approachable, better balanced, and whatever have you. And just recently, like the other day, the official Warhammer Twitter started posting weird teaser images of a Tyranid looking at some sort of Space Marine Terminator in its eye. And that's been the rumor, is that 10th edition, the poster boys, is going to be Tyranids versus, I think it was Dark Angels, although Blood Angels got a leaked model today too, so I can't remember which. But I'm pretty sure that 10th edition is going to be announced next weekend at Adepticon.
That would be pretty awesome.
That's going to be really awesome. So excited to see what comes up for that.
I actually have a question for you, and not to derail, but I did want to poke at this briefly because there's been a lot of these games these days, like Warhammer, Magic the Gathering, in to a certain degree, D&D, that are really currently refining and re-looking at their rule sets and kind of how they, sort of, kind of refine their rules and the way that the game is played. What do you have any thoughts or perspective on why that would be? Like, I feel like it's a thing that is happening widespread more than just,
like a renaissance of game rules.
And I'm asking because I know you play Warhammer, and I don't, and so I don't know the space very well. However, it's interesting to me that I feel like some of these older IPs like Warhammer, like D&D, like Magic, are trying to kind of create this renaissance of kind of getting things. Is there anything to that? Like, is it just a coincidence, you think?
I can't say for sure. There's any number of reasons why that could be, but I think I don't know, it probably is just coincidence, right?
Well, like,
it maybe has something to do with the fact that COVID broke everyone's supply chain, and then they lost a bunch of money, so now they have to like try to recapture players. I don't know. Specifically speaking from a Warhammer side,
do you think, or do you believe that it's more like retention based changes, right? Like of keeping customers happy or being more. I'm just trying to, I guess, and I'm not trying to speculate. I'm just trying to understand because it's interesting because I've noticed this trend recently, and seeing that I don't play D&D or Warhammer, it's one of those things where I was just like, it's very interesting to see this happen.
I think Warhammer specifically has gone through something already that Magic is just getting into, and that is too many different kinds of products and product fatigue.
Really?
So, for example, Warhammer has a thing called Forge World, where they make, instead of plastic models, they have like fine cast, they call them resin models, that are like buku bucks, and they're like special models, but they still have rules for the table, so you could buy them and play them. A lot of them are complete garbage, even though they cost you $500 to buy.
Wait, did you just say $500?
Oh yeah, baby, let me show you some links. Let's go to Forge World. And let's go to a faction I play, which is Chaos Knights. Knights have some really, really cool Forge World models, by the way. And yeah, looking, we got the Acastus Knight Porphyrion is $665. Cerastus Knight Lancers $345.
What in the what nonsense is this? Holy smoke!
Now, granted, these are Chaos Knights, so they're huge models, and these specific knights are like a foot tall.
Oh, okay, okay.
This isn't just a tiny like 3-inch Space Marine model. Like this is like the size of a small child.
Okay.
There are, however, so like I'm trying to think. If I go to, let's say, $185 for a Drukhari pirate ship on here, which is out of stock. Tyranids have some gross ones. $500 for Biotitan. Again, that's a huge one. The Tyranid Herodon isn't that big. That's a $500 model.
Are these pre-painted, or do you still have to paint them?
You still have to paint them.
Oh my god.
Yeah, Forge World is a confusing thing that a lot of people are not happy with. And there's some issues with certain armies. Custodes is a faction specifically where a lot of the good models in that codex are actually only found on Forge World.
Okay, hold on a second. So they have a Middle Earth edition too of Warhammer?
Yeah, Warhammer has a Middle Earth model game. That's a thing.
Okay, so
and then the Middle Earth model game has Forge World stuff.
so Wizards of the Coast is not the first whore of the LOR IP when it comes to these games.
Games Workshop definitely. I don't know when they had the Middle Earth miniature stuff. I don't know when that became a thing, but it was probably before Wizards did the Lord of the Rings set.
Gotcha. So, I mean, this is. I mean, we've talked about like Magic decks, like like $600, $700 for a deck of cards, but like this is like, I mean, I knew the Warhammer like world was fairly expensive.
Warhammer's expensive. Again, the Forge World stuff is specialty resin models. It's not indicative of normal model prices, but normal model prices are pretty gross.
Okay, so wait, hold on. Sorry. So it is the equivalent with Forge World. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to wrap my head around it.
It would be like, I think there's a good comparison between Forge World and Secret Lairs. These are specialty products that are limited print run.
Okay. So almost like an equivalent to video games, like super rare games or limited run or some of these like more niche. Okay, all right.
You'll notice a lot of these Forge World stuff are out of stock.
Yeah.
For example, and I think the intent is supposed to be, we have an idea for a new model. Let's test it on a Forge World, see how popular it is.
Oh.
If it's popular enough, we'll bring it to plastic and have it more mass produced, which I think is the intent. And that has happened with several models. And that's another one of the things I was excited about, is rumor has it that the knights, some of the Cerastus frame knights that are on Forge World, like I just showed you, are getting plastic model equivalents. Because the ones that are available, we only have War Dogs or Abominant class knights, which are a different frame. I think I've shown pictures of those. We don't have any of the tall toddler size knights as plastic kits.
Gotcha. Well, that's pretty cool. So okay, so these larger ones, and kind of just to sort of parse this out a bit, right? So these like ones from Forge World, these are like high quality like resin models, not like the plastic stuff that you buy that are Games Workshop.
Yeah.
Not saying that Games Workshop stuff is inferior, but it's just a different quality of material, size, and because when you have large models, right? Like if they're plastic, they actually as they get bigger, they actually get worse in the look, and so that's when like things like resin and I think for a long time they started using pewter and some other not Warhammer but other things used like higher quality materials for larger models because of the detail that had to go into them, right? Is that a fair assessment?
I would say no,
Oh, no?
because Games Workshop has some damn good plastic models. I'm sure you've seen some of the World Eater stuff I posted. I have an Angron box that I haven't opened yet,
Yeah.
which is fantastic. That Angron model is probably like 6 inches tall at least.
Okay.
Here's a big one. This character's name is Bellicor. This guy is gorgeous on the table.
Ooh, and that's a plastic model?
That's a plastic model. The bigger they are, the more detail they actually tend to put in.
Okay.
I had a really cool one. It's a Necron character called the Silent King. This thing is like Nerf football size.
Oh, wow. So, okay. So then have you handled these sort of like resin models versus the plastic models?
Yes, and it's pretty much the resin models are pretty much universally hated.
Why?
They require to be super glued together. They don't work with the regular plastic glue. They also don't hold paint nearly as well. You have to there's a lot more effort to paint.
Yeah, they're a denser material, right?
And the one I've painted there's a Necron model called the Shard of the Nightbringer. And it was kind of a pain to get the colors right, and it would leave dust and film.
Okay. So there's kind of like this it's almost controversial, really, the Forge World versus the official games Games Workshop
Yeah,
model? Games
Workshop owns Forge World.
Oh, okay. So it's like
it's like the same people.
so it's like a child company, basically.
Basically, I don't know exactly the relationship, but okay. Yeah. So that's part of the confusion. So Games Workshop and Forge World have inconsistency between models, between prices, between stock, between material, and they have inconsistency between even factions on how many Forge World models they have. The other thing is Games Workshop sells your core rule books or your core rules in a book that you have to buy, and the books are like $50 to $60 a piece. And then each faction has its own rules book, which again is another $50, $60. That, by the way, can be updated. You know, Magic the Gathering has ban lists. Well, Games Workshop has data slates, which update your faction rules on the quarter for game balance. So there was a huge to-do when the Leagues of Votann book came out this year, because that one was there was some leaks when it was coming out, and it was revealed to be so utterly broken before it even released that they had to completely change in a data slate how the codex worked after the books hit print, but before they were released. So people were receiving books that they paid for that were completely invalid.
Oh, weird.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Because they don't have free rules online.
Oh, sounds like somebody else I know. Okay. So I have to ask this question.
Yes.
And then I'm gonna follow that up with another question. What about these like niche like versions of Warhammer, and more specifically, I'm going to talk about this one that I just came across because we've been talking about it. But things like Blood Bowl.
Ha! Okay, so yeah, there are so Warhammer 40k is where it all started. 40k is the name, or Warhammer 40,000 is the main game. It is set in the year 40,000, and it's a very guns, tanks, aesthetic, you know, Space Marines, power armor, machine guns, World War I style British tanks, but look futuristic, you know, fighting aliens. Very, very like Halo, XCOM, but with a European fascist Catholicism kind of vibe.
Okay.
Then you have at the time you had fantasy, which was obviously a fantasy alternative, dwarves, elves, and dragons. Fantasy got scrapped because of low sales and replaced with something called Age of Sigmar, which is now the fantasy alternative for Warhammer 40k. So you have similar overlap in themes, but kind of different factions with different aesthetics. Then you have Blood Bowl, which is kind of a joke game, but I think still fun. It's literally like combat football. So you'll have Warhammer factions like goblins, orcs, usually the Xenos, like the alien faction. So I'm trying to remember who's all in it. I've never played Blood Bowl, but you'll have like goblins, orcs. There might be like vampires and skeletons, and they're literally playing football and like killing each other while they do it.
It's funny because this reminds me of Mutant League Football, which is a video game.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm intrigued by this. And now
they have Blood Bowl video games if you ever want to try it.
Oh, they do?
Yes, they do.
Oh, okay.
I think Blood Bowl 2 just recently came out.
Okay.
On Steam.
I'll have to check that out. But you have just now hooked me in to wanting to try this. Would this be something you'd be willing to try and us do for our channel?
Yes. Be prepared for a lot of editing. A, because the rules are stupid complicated, and so we will make mistakes and forget stuff. But B, there's going to be a lot of standing around talking and rolling 1,000 dice, which will need to be edited down to be watchable. But yeah, I would suggest watching like Tabletop Tactics or Art of War on YouTube. I like those two channels. They're called battle reports when they do live games. Like, they're not live, they're edited, but they'll do gameplay. So yeah, it's a thing that exists, and not a ton of people do it. But I would love to play some Warhammer with you.
Dude, this would be...
I have two factions. I have Leagues of Votann and I have Chaos Knights, and I'm working on a third. So I'm set to play now if you wanted to.
Man, this would be so fun. I think we have to do it for the channel. I mean, we have to.
Blood Bowl 3, by the way, is the game that came out.
Okay. All right.
on Steam, Blood Bowl 3, February 23 of this year, it just came out. There's one more offshoot game that I didn't talk about yet, and it ties into the potential rumored 10th edition announcement for next weekend. And it's called Horus Heresy. Okay. So, in the very expansive lore of 40k, one of the most important defining stories of the lore is called the Horus Heresy, which basically split the Empire of Man into the Imperium of Man and the Chaos Heretics. Okay. Those who align with the Chaos Demons and whatever have you. And the Ruinous Powers. So, the Horus Heresy is an offshoot game that basically takes place during that timeline. Roughly the year 30,000 in the canon. So, a lot of people call it Warhammer 30k. Where it's largely Space Marine on Space Marine action, because it's the loyalist Space Marines fighting the Chaos Alliance Space Marines. But it harkens back to the 7th edition rule set, which is significantly simpler than 9th edition is, and has a different activation system and a system of reactions, which is hard to fully explain to someone completely new to the idea. So when you play an activation system, when you play a tabletop game, you need to determine an order in which people move their units and perform their actions and shoot their guns and whatever have you. In 40k, it's an I move everything, then you move everything system. So in 40k, I take my army of a bunch of models, and everything goes through a movement phase and moves their set distance, and then they go through a psychic phase to cast their spells, and then they go through a gun phase to shoot their guns, and then a melee phase, etc. Then after I'm done with all of that, which could take like 20 minutes depending on the army, then the opponent gets to go. Okay. That's very frustrating for a lot of people. Partially because what's known as alpha striking. If your opponent is able to do their first turn move and like roll really well and wipe your army off the map before you've had a chance to do anything, well, that's kind of sad. 30K, the Horus Heresy, uses an initiative system, as I understand it. I don't think I've played any 30K yet. I just have friends who have played it next to me and tried to explain it to me. But basically, the units have an initiative stat like D&D does, and regardless of what side or what player the units belong to, everything will activate in order of initiative. So you'll have more of that back and forth gameplay rather than full I go, then full you go. Then there are reactions, which are a set of responsive actions you can do to opponents' actions. In 40K, instead, you have something called stratagems, which is a whole mess and broken system that every model even has unique stratagems and no one can keep them straight or remember what any of them are. But in 30K, there's a solid set of reactions that everyone has access to, and it's clean and tight, and there's very little bloat. So the theory is that 10th edition is going to take a lot of what 30K did and build it out into 40K to really clean up the rule set. And that's what everyone is hoping for.
Real quick, is there a way to like quickly discern like the difference between 30K and 40K?
Visually, you mean?
Well, like, is there? You were talking about the rule set and the different, the different parts of 30 to 40K. Is, I guess, what is if somebody was just like looking at a box of 30, Warhammer 30K versus Warhammer 40K, what is something they would need to know that differentiates them?
They're usually labeled. So, like, models specifically for Horus Heresy are labeled with the Horus Heresy label. And same with 40K and same with Age of Sigmar. There is some bleed over. The Demons factions, specifically, typically you can use them in any of them because there's the same demons are in Sigmar, the same demons are in 40K.
Got it.
And they're just got released a Demons Codex for Horus Heresy too.
So and to kind of cap this off, and because again, I'm still kind of trying to refresh my mind because I've played Warhammer like maybe twice in my life.
Yeah, the rules for these games is like hundreds of pages of just hard text. Like, there's no way I can actually just explain this in 5 minutes on a podcast.
No. But I guess what I'm asking is, when we talk about playing the game, it's not just the miniatures, but you need the rule book to pair with that in order to play an effective version of the game.
Yes, you need to know what your rules are so that you can use them.
Right.
You need to know what your rules are so you know how, like, what units you can take in an army.
Yeah.
And how to construct an actual team. You need to know, because the way it's an army building game, kind of like Magic is a deck building game. Magic says you need a 60-card deck, you need lands to be able to cast spells, yada yada. There's similar rules for building an army in 40K.
Got it.
It's a point system. So think like, what is it, Canadian Highlander in Magic, where they assign points to cards, and that's how you construct a deck.
Oh gosh.
That's how Warhammer is. Each model has, or each unit rather, because a unit can be made up of multiple models, depending if it's like troops versus a tank.
That is one version of Magic that I never really got into, is Canadian Highlander.
It's an interesting idea. The army building idea of Magic the Gathering is interesting.
I actually, interestingly enough, and I'm not going to like dive into it, but interestingly enough, Canadian Highlander is actually very, interestingly, very close to the Final Fantasy TCG rules and how they play Final Fantasy TCG.
Sure. It's a lot easier to balance, I think, because instead of just outright banning stuff, you can just increase the points cost. So, like, yeah, you can play Mox Opal, but it's 1,000,000 points.
Right.
So you really have to consider, is this worth it?
Yeah. You can scale it differently.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, this all ties into the rumor mill, which is what I started off with and I need to circle back to. So, Adepticon 2023 in Chicago next weekend. There's going to be a big Warhammer tournament, and there's going to be lots of spoilers for the new stuff, for 40K, for Horus Heresy, for Sigmar, anything that's coming out. They're going to start doing spoilers and announcement at Adepticon. And the official Twitter page tweeted what I'm pretty sure is a teaser for 10th edition, which is really exciting, and it's really hope. A lot of people are really hoping that it's tightened up and cleaned up like the Horus Heresy game set is, and that'll make people feel a lot better about the mainline 40K game.
Nice. Well,
in addition, sorry, go ahead.
No. I was going to say that. I mean, I hope it comes true, because I think in that construct, like anything that we talk about, like video games, whether it's Magic the Gathering or any other game, right? Like cleaning up rules and cleaning up how something is sort of consumed by the end user is a very important thing, and it's something I think we talk about a lot in games, and maybe not in that exact context, but I think it holds true in every game that we want to play, any franchise that we want to consume.
In addition, with the news, with the rumor of 10th edition coming out, is the rumor of new models and new factions. So we have, I talked about how this possible stuff coming from Forge World to Plastic. The rumor I've heard is that we're getting some of those bigger frame knights into Plastic, which I would be super excited for. I would buy that in a heartbeat. Tyranids, which is the evil, all-consuming bugs army, they have models that basically haven't been updated in 20 years. Cough, cough, gene stealers. That are probably getting fresh new models, because the Tyranids are going to be the poster bad guy for 10th edition, is the rumor, which I think now is confirmed based on the pictures that Games Workshop has posted. I play Tyranids, so I am super excited about this. I had a small army, and I didn't quite get it painted when I started to hear the rumors, because the rumors have been circulating for a long time. I started to hear the rumors of new models, range refresh coming for Tyranids, so I sold the few I had, and I said, all right, I'll play these again when 10th edition comes out and they get new models. So I've been chomping at the bit to see what we get for Tyranids. I assume Gene Stealers are going to get a new model. I have to assume that, probably the Moloch. We need a new Moloch. The one that we have is ugly. None of these words mean anything to anyone but me. Then, so excited about probably new Tyranid models. Excited about the possibility of new Knight models. What was the other thing? Oh, Emperor's Children. So, more backstory, because if this is for an audience that doesn't know what Warhammer is, the Chaos Space Marines is the factions of Space Marines that split from the Empire and said, we want to worship the devil instead. There are 4 main Chaos gods, Khorne, Slaanesh, Nurgle, and Tzeentch, and each one of them have, there are many Chaos Space Marine factions, but there are specific ones dedicated, like the special children of those gods. So Nurgle, the god of rot and decay, has the Death Guard. Khorne, the blood god, has the World Eaters. Tzeentch, the god of sorcery, has the Thousand Sons, and Slaanesh, the god of hedonism, has the Emperor's Children. 3 of the 4 of those have dedicated factions already. We had Thousand Sons came out first. Then 8th edition, we had Death Guard. Now, at the tail end of 9th edition, we just got World Eaters, which is the one I've started collecting. So, it stands to reason that Emperor's Children are coming in 10th edition. So, there's some prospects we might maybe see some hints of Emperor's Children if they're going to talk about 10th edition. Who knows? That one's less likely. That seems a little early, but I have my eye open for that. I have a lot of things I have my eye open. And the final thing is the faction that I play called Leagues of Votann. They've been they're a new faction that just came out a few months ago, so they only have a few model kits. They're not a fully fleshed out faction yet, but there's been official rumors posted on the Warhammer Twitter of like, hey, what could this be? Could this be a new Votann model? Who knows? So they talked about that a couple months ago and then didn't talk about it again for a while. So I have a feeling that we might be seeing new Votann model stuff at Adepticon too.
A lot. It sounds like there's a lot to come.
Ton of stuff. And the official Twitter channel also said there's huge announcements coming. And this is just for 40K. They'll definitely have stuff for Horus Heresy as well. I presume to do with the demons that are, if they haven't come out yet, they're going to come out very soon. And then I have no idea what's going on with Age of Sigmar. I don't really follow it. But they always have stuff for those as well at Adepticon.
Gotcha. So what's about the what's with the green side of things?
What's with the green? Oh yes. This was a really cool thing they posted the other day. Games Workshop, so when you get these models from Games Workshop or from your local game store or wherever, you don't get like a toy. You get plastic on sprues that you have to cut apart, glue together, then paint, and you throw the sprue away. This creates a lot of plastic waste. A ton of plastic waste. But on the Warhammer official Twitter, they just announced that they're rolling out a trial program to have a recycling system for those sprues. At the moment, it's just in certain parts of the UK, but they're trying to reduce their plastic waste. Possibly due to what we talked about before, where the European Union is cracking down on single-use plastics.
I was just gonna mention that. But I think more organizations should be doing stuff like this, and I even think things like, TCGs or anything, even video games, right? Like this single-use plastic. I'm gonna be honest with you, like. I think there are better ways as a established people that we can be better at producing things that are more eco-friendly, I will say.
Absolutely. We are in the point that I think we have reached post-industrial society where we should start reining in our systems so that we're not dumping oodles of carbon dioxide in the air and causing global warming and littering our oceans with plastic. We can do better. This is a fantastic step in the right direction, and I hope this takes off.
I agree.
I would love to see Wizards of the Coast do something similar and have like paper booster packs in whatever form that takes. That would be a great way to do that. I don't know that they could reasonably do a recycling program for pack waste, just because nobody's going to open an entire box of booster packs and then bring those pack waste into the game store to recycle. No.
I actually, so here's a thought, right, on that. And having paper recyclable packs is not something out of the stretch of the imagination. I also think that paper packs are less likely to be tampered with.
Oh yeah? How's that?
Well, because, I should say, let me rephrase that. It'd be more obvious for somebody to tamper with a paper pack than it would be a plastic pack.
Sure, because you're not going to be able to hide the damage
Right.
you've done to the pack.
Right.
That makes sense. So there you go. It's a win-win.
Thanks for listening to our most recent episode of Uneducated Gamers. You can go to Galaxy Game TV to post comments on each of our episodes, or if you have a question or a topic you would like us to include in an episode, feel free to leave a comment. Until next week, we bid you farewell.